reach out to me on social media to see if I would be interested in purchasing this dresser. This is a 1960s Henredon walnut dresser, and the top has some cosmetic damage, but overall it is in fantastic condition. There's just a couple spots on the drawers where there's some missing veneer and a few scratches, but overall this is a really fabulous piece. The seller even labeled all of the drawers for me, which I absolutely love, saves me some time. Take a look at this craftsmanship. All of the handles are built into the drawers, and 4 of the 12 drawers have these gorgeous dividers in them. This is just an amazing piece. All of the wooden drawer glides are in place, tight, and work absolutely perfectly. It's also on casters, which is great when you're working with a heavy piece of wooden furniture like this. And it has that gorgeous bowed front. Well, maybe a few spider webs, but that's nothing we can't get rid of. Inspecting the piece is usually the first thing I do before I start working on it. I found one loose nail right here, which will be an easy fix, and identified a little bit more veneer work that's going to have to be done. So I grabbed my shop vac and got to work removing those spider webs. You don't want to take any chances that we're going to bring any critters into my garage or my home. Cleaning out the entire dresser just to kind of get the dust out. Fix that one loose nail, and then we're ready to begin the restoration process. So I wheeled it outside. I grabbed some simple green to get any remaining furniture polish, grease, oils off of it. I had already wiped the entire piece down with warm water and Dawn dish soap. So I grabbed my sander. I am using an 80 grit sanding net for the first pass to get the old finish off. The finish was pretty dry, so it's coming off pretty easily, so I didn't use a wood stripper first. After the 80 grit, I went over it then with a 80 grit sandpaper, and then I moved up to 120, 220, and then one final pass at 400. This ensures that I've got a perfectly smooth finish and I don't get any sanding marks. I flipped it on its back again, and I used a piece of sandpaper and a sanding block to sand down the base. I didn't bother sanding it down to bare wood because it's in pretty good shape, so it just needs a touch up. I'm going to do the same with all of the wood around the bottom. On the front exposed piece of the dresser, I am going to go ahead and sand that down to bare wood because I need to make sure that the stain color is going to be an exact match with the stain that I'm going to put on the top. I am not going to sand the drawers of this piece, so I am going to take one of them to my hardware store and pick out a stain that is as close as I can get. For this project, I decided to use a oil-based stain by Varathane in the color Early American. Had a little bit of veneer that was wanting to come off right here, so I grabbed some Tight Bond wood glue and I'm just putting it in the crack right there with a small paintbrush. Make sure I get plenty of glue in there so that we can get that nice and tight. This is an area where it really wouldn't be easy to put a wood clamp, so I'm just going to hold it in place for a couple minutes, wipe off the excess, and it should be fine. Now, to repair this spot, I have some old veneer from another project. So what I'm going to do is I measured it with a piece of tape, and then I'm going to cut the veneer to size and use my wood glue to put it in place. Sorry, I wasn't doing the greatest job of filming here, but what I do is I put a piece of tape on the dresser, trace the size of the piece that's missing, and then put that tape on the veneer to cut it down to a matching size. So see, doesn't matter if it's not the exact same color because I'm going to be staining and probably doing some color matching. I did discover a spot on the top of it where it looks like a TV had been sitting. That was just water that I had sprayed on it. So to try to get rid of the TV stand damage and a few other little water rings on the top, as I said, I went through all the sanding, and then I'm applying a wood conditioner. So this is an oil-based wood conditioner, and I will put all my products in the description. This soaks into the wood and prepares it to take the stain. It helps the stain go on a lot smoother and avoids blotchiness. But even just with the wood conditioner, look how pretty this is starting to look. So I let the wood conditioner dry overnight. I came in, can still see that spot right there. I sanded the entire top with 400 grade sandpaper again, and then I put a second layer of wood conditioner. After the wood conditioner dried, the stained areas were very hard to see, so I decided to go ahead and put my stain on. As I said, this is, oh, wait, I forgot my glove. I do that sometimes. I'll get so excited, I'll just start to put the product on. And it's not that big of a deal when I'm working with water-based products because those wash off really easily with soap and water. But oil-based products are a little bit harder to get off of your skin. And by the way, I do have a mask on because I don't like the smell of oil-based products. So now I'm applying the Varathane stain in the color Early American. It's so pretty and it's a near perfect match to the drawer fronts. So I'm going to put on a coat of this. I'll let it dry, gently sand it, and then repeat. You always want to make sure you wipe off the excess so you don't have any pooling of the stain. And then I'm getting along that front edge. This is such a beautiful piece of furniture and such a joy to work on. I think if you look really hard, you can kind of still see where that ring is from where they had a plant or something sitting on it. But I think by the time I get my second layer of stain on, it will be really hard to spot. So now we're going to go to work on the drawers. I did have a couple areas where there was some slight veneer damage. The first thing that I'm trying is just some wood filler. Now this is not an exact color match, so I'm going to have to come in and fix that, but I didn't want to go to the store again. So I'm just using some gloves in my finger to apply it because it doesn't really need to go deep, and I'm going to sand it smooth once it is nice and dry. So just kind of get that in there, put a little bit of extra so I can sand it down. Smoothing it with my, whatever these little plastic things are called, and then wipe off any excess. All right. A lot of finishing furniture is putting on products and then waiting for them to dry. This is why I typically have 2 to 3 projects going on at the same time. So now we're going to pay some attention to the drawers that didn't really need repair. Same thing as with the top. I cleaned them with Dawn dish soap, and now I'm going over them with some degreaser to make sure and get all of the old oils and everything off. I'll spray this on, let it sit for a moment, and then wipe it off with a blue shop towel. This is another really good opportunity to check the drawers to see if there's any scratches or chips, missing veneer, anything that I need to address. Once they're nice and clean, I'm going to do a little trick here. I've got some 400 grit sandpaper, so I'm going to lightly go over the front of them. Now I do not want to remove the finish because it's in really good shape, so I'm only kind of sanding areas where there's a scratch or a blemish or something that I don't want to show up when the final piece is done. So I didn't go over the entire tops of them. Instead, what I'm going to use is brown paper bag to kind of gently buff the front of each drawer. That kind of acts as a high grit sandpaper. Now what I have is I have some 00 steel wool and my wood stain. So I'm going to place the steel wool onto a shop cloth. I'm just using the shop cloth just to protect my hands and give me something to hold on to. Then I'm going to put some of the stain on the steel wool and then just rub it into the front of the drawer. I'm going to go over the entire drawer surface, paying extra attention to any of the spots where I had scratches or chips or blemishes. I got inside the door handle, and I'm also making sure to go around the edges of each of the drawer. What this does is it applies a very thin layer of stain anywhere that there's raw wood exposed, and just kind of deepens the color in the other areas. I watched my mom do this many times with some of the old antiques in our house, and so I'm giving it a try on this piece. Once you're done, you wipe off the excess. What do you guys see? I see a beautiful dresser in my future. And now we're back to repairing the veneer on the drawers. I told you I didn't have an exact match with the wood filler that I used, so I got out my wood paints. And I don't have an exact color, so I'm going to kind of just blend some different colors. This won't come out. I live in Arizona and it gets really hot, so a lot of times the little applicators, the paint will get dried up in the end of them, but it's easy enough just to take off the lid and put a little on my paper plate. So right now I've got 3 different shades that are kind of in the same color family as the stain on the dressers. And I'm going to get a little bit of each one so that as I'm addressing that missing spot of veneer, I can kind of blend until I have the color that I want. The 2 shades I've already put on the plate are a little bit darker. Now we're going to come in with a lighter. I don't know why I keep trying to do that. You think I would learn that it's not going to work, but nope, we got to take the lid off and squeeze a little bit out. Now this product dries really fast, so I only get a little bit on the plate at a time, and I keep my water bottle handy. Now that we've got the paint, I grab a paintbrush and I'm just going to start experimenting here with the different colors until I have blended the area into the surrounding wood. So it's really just a lot of trial and error. The great thing is if it doesn't work, you can always just grab your sandpaper, sand it back down again, and try it over. And sometimes it takes me 2 to 3 tries before I'm happy with it. My goal isn't to make it perfect, but to make it to where someone who didn't know the veneer was damaged in that spot wouldn't immediately spot it. So there we go, we're putting on our paint, kind of blending the different colors. And I'm going to do this anywhere that I applied wood filler to the drawers and to 2 spots on the side of the dresser where I did some veneer patches. It's really hard to tell through the camera, but it's looking good. All right, see, it's getting a little bit harder to see now where that spot was. I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing to this corner where I also had some missing veneer. Ideally, the wood filler that I used, I probably should have used either a lighter color or a color that matched. But like I said, I just went with what I had in my garage at the time because I didn't want to run to the store. So it's an extra step, but I think it'll be worth it in the end when these drawers all look close to perfect. Okay, now we're going to let that dry and then we'll go do the same thing anywhere else there was damage to the veneer. Now I addressed the insides of the drawers. A few of them had some type of grease or oil stains, so I just grabbed a little bit of sandpaper, gently sand the insides of the drawers, and then clean them out real good. Make sure to get all that dust out of there. It's as important to pay attention to what the piece of furniture looks like on the inside as the outside when you're refinishing, especially if you're trying to sell for top dollar. So I'm going to do this to all 12 drawers. Not all of them will require sanding, and this was probably the one that had the most damage to the inside of it. Once all the drawers are thoroughly cleaned, I come in and I give them a nice waxing. This product leaves them so nice and shiny and they smell wonderful. Don't forget to check the description for a list of all the products that I used. I will not be putting any wallpaper or paint or anything like that on or in this dresser. This wood is just too beautiful to cover up. So I just want to bring it all back to its natural glory and refresh it with just a little bit of wood oil. This is Wax and Feed is the name of this product, and you can buy it at pretty much any hardware. I think I usually pick it up at Home Depot. All right, I finally found the maker's mark. I knew it was a Henredon, but I had been able to find it. And now for the final step, I'm putting on some wipe-on polyurethane in a satin finish. This is really going to warm it up, give it a shine, and protect it from scratching and other damage as it's being used in its new home. So with this, I apply it with a lint-free cloth, and I'll put on a nice layer of it. I'll let it dry for about 24 hours. I'll come back, gently sand it, and then do a second coat. And then I'll do the same thing for a third time. I'll do this on the body of the dresser and all of the drawers. So lots of patience. You know, it takes about 2 weeks total for me to take a piece from picking it up to getting ready to list it for sale. And if it's a painted piece, it takes even longer because I have to let the paint cure anywhere from a couple weeks to a month. But here's where we started with our dresser, and here is where we finished. Look how that just shines. This is such a beautiful piece. I cannot even explain how wonderful it was to work on. These are some of the pictures that I'm taking to get ready to list it for sale. I hope it finds a wonderful new home, even though I'm very tempted to keep it for myself. So follow along to see more of my furniture transformations.